Alrighty, good evening everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on to this latest update. I'm focusing tonight primarily, folks, on our system that will affect us over the weekend. We're sponsored tonight by Metal Magic in Washington, 698-8555 for all of your paintless dent repair needs, and be sure to tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you. Alright folks, it comes in two waves. You can see this as I've got the loop on here. The first wave coming here off the coast really of Baja, California down here. Let me just sort of illustrate it out here for you. So this wave's moving onshore. Get another wave that's moving onshore up here into Canada. Eventually these two are going to take a dive this way and sort of like this, and they'll sort of marry into a nice phased winter storm for us, or at least that's kind of the way things are hopeful right now. But we do have some better model agreement today. I think the models are going to start getting better. One of the reasons we've got at least a little bit better model agreement today, and let me just sort of show you this, is because if I actually look down here, you can see that the system is now partially onshore. Now, the core of it is still out here into the ocean, but the first waves of this deepening low pressure, this upper level low, is onto the shore out here. So at least part of the storm is being sampled. Maybe not the core of it, but at least part of it. That allows some actual data to be entered into the models and make them a lot better. Same way up here in Canada too. It's kind of hard to see this, but you can see right over in here that it's starting to move onshore. The satellite only goes up the loop available here so far. On this particular program that I use. But you can see it's starting to come onshore with this. And again, by the time tomorrow comes, tomorrow afternoon and evening, it will be much better off, folks, and we'll actually start to be able to get some good data. By the way, whenever I say that it's entering into our upper air network, I know a lot of you are not really familiar with how that goes, but this basically is what I'm meaning. We have a series of stations that are going on all throughout the world here. Each one of these dots represents an upper air network sampling location, and so you can see that all of them, there's a lot of them dotted here over the southwest, and that's because a lot of our systems move in here. Same way up here along the coast where both of these systems are moving in, there's quite a few upper air network sampling stations. That's a good thing. Basically what they'll do is they'll take these weather balloons and they'll send them up into the atmosphere, and they've got a little electronic box down here that's attached to them, and that sends us back data about the storm, and that data gets entered into our computer models, which allows us to have a more accurate understanding. A weather model is only as good as the data that's put into it, and whenever the data is offshore, the only thing we can rely on really is buoys out in the ocean, and then we're having to estimate and make some educated guesses about what that storm system is currently doing. And we can guess as good as we possibly can, but you know, those guesses are just that. They're really only guesses. So now once we're starting to get this on shore, our model data will start to get a little bit better. So that's hopeful. Let me show you where the models stand at tonight, folks. We've got a couple of options still on the table here, but I think you'll agree with me there's a little bit better model agreement. Here's the way the GEM sees things. By the time the GEM is the Canadian model, by the way. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, the system's still out to our west, but that quickly will move our way into it, so that by the time the overnight hours come, we start to see some of that precipitation spilling in. You see it starts out maybe as rain here over towards Illinois, but then very quickly by the time we move in to the overnight and early morning hours of Sunday morning, we've got snow overtaking the area, and it stays an all snow kind of a system for us for the duration of the event, according to the Canadian model. The Canadian model for us then would have a pretty decent snow pocket over here, at least over eastern Kentucky, and decent snow totals, a little bit of a lessening pocket over here in portions of the area, but just don't take this verbatim. Again, this would probably, you know, this is a good 2 to 4, maybe 5-inch total across the area. So certainly at least winter weather advisory level, possibly winter storm warning level with the way this guidance is. Let's take a look at the GFS. The GFS is showing something very similar to the Canadian. You can see here we start off this is by 7 p.m. on Saturday night, and you can see a sort of a rain-snow mix out here just to our west. As you go through the overnight hours, it turns into an all-snow setup, and heavy snow at that for us. And look at this, the low pressure that's down off the coast of Baja has developed over here, and notice that it's tracking to our south, keeping us in the snow zone. And take a look at this. It starts to sort of skirt up like this and then exit off. But notice throughout the duration of this, Indiana stays in an all snow kind of setup. The rain snow line comes down through portions of Kentucky with this. Now, the GFS has done remarkably well over the past 4 runs, having some run-to-run consistency. That's what we want to see. That gives us more confidence in a forecast. Take a look at this. This is what the latest model output would put here. This would put a good 4-inch swath of snow down, even as far south as the Ohio River, 5 inches up towards Bloomington. So this would be probably a 4 to 6 inch snow, according to the GFS, area-wide with this particular run. If we go back in time, and let me just show you some of the previous runs of the GFS today to give you an idea of the consistency. This is the 18Z. This was the 1 p.m. run. The 12Z, not too bad either. It showed a very similar thinking, a little bit of a heavier swath up here towards Illinois and extending into portions of central Indiana. But still, you can see this is the current run, and then stepping back one in time, not that much different from each other. Now, if you step back in time a little bit more and you go into the overnight runs, you get to this, and then finally yesterday's you get to this. So again, the last 4 runs, the oldest one is a little bit heavier with 5 to 6 inches over us, but still each of these runs keeping about 4 to 5 inches in the area across this. So that's a pretty significant storm. That would certainly be winter storm warning criteria if this were to verify. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on, but not so fast. The NAM is the one that's throwing a wrench into things here. So the Canadian has said all snow and the GFS has said all snow. But let's take a look at the NAM, and you can see the party pooper in this as you go throughout it. Here we go on to late Saturday night. You see some rain moving out there into Illinois. Watch this. It starts to transition as a little finger of precipitation inches towards Indianapolis there. It starts to go to an all snow setup overnight, but watch this. As precip enters the area, it's not transitioned over to snow right along the Ohio River. It starts out as rain, and notice this, a little bit of snow, but then you get a dry slot working in before, look at this, by the time this moves in, you've got rain moving in, and that rain snow line sort of hangs out maybe a county or two along the Ohio River and northward, and then everybody else snow, and potentially some decent snows at that. But you notice the low in this type of a setup not tracking down here towards Alabama. It's tracking up here towards the border of Kentucky and Tennessee, which would put that rain snow line in the area a little bit more. As I said, kind of a party pooper of a system. But notice that the NAM is just now starting to see this, and so we're looking out here beginning. It doesn't start to get this until about hour 54. Really, by the time you get to hours 60 through 84, when you're nearing the end of the model, it doesn't do as well as it does in the first 60 hours typically. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll see whether that holds true over tomorrow's model runs as well. But as of right now, let me just show you what future radar would look like to get you a better visual, because really this is just precipitation type, but this might give you an idea of intensity on it. And here we go, and you can see some decently heavy rain potential moving in, and then it transitions to an all snow kind of setup for us, but then quickly, look at this, some yellows mixed in there with that rain at times too. It could be a pretty heavy rain, or at least moderate type of a rain for us at time, and areas, counties right here all the way up to maybe even as far north as Vincennes at time, getting in potentially on the rain in there with this before it transitions, and you notice it starts to go to snow, but you notice it's a pretty heavy snow as it transitions. The NAM would give us snow, but for everyone, but it would be on the back side of that rain if that were the case. And the heaviest snows do stay to the north, but even counties along the river get an inch or two out of it. So again, folks, that's just something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. That is one option that's still on the table. Again, the Canadian is showing all snow. The GFS is snowing all show. NAM, the party pooper, wants to throw a little bit of rain mixed in with that snow. The European model, I don't have the nice graphics to be able to show you for that, but what I can show you here is through the duration of this event, it's very similar to actually towards the GFS. Look at this. By the time you go into late into the evening hours, a little finger of precipitation moving into us, maybe a little bit ahead of some some of the other models, but you get into the overnight hours. Notice, remember, this first blue line is typically the rain-snow changeover line as a general idea, and you notice that sort of hugs right along the Ohio River and south, and you can see pretty heavy snow potentially over us at times through the duration of the event. This would be mostly a snow event for us, maybe a little bit of a rain right along the Ohio River at the start, but it would be a heavy snow event for all of us at some point in time. And take a look at what what the European model snow totals would be. Well, this brings a 6-inch swath of snow right here down towards the Ohio River, and you're getting into the 8 and even some pockets at 10-inch here. So this would be, a 6 to 8-inch sort of swath of snow across the area. Very much winter storm warning criteria. So again, the Euro here, very heavy on the precipitation side, the heaviest of the models on that. That's something we're going to have to see. This would be, the European model gives us about 6 to 10. Again, the NAM across the area would give a good 6 to 8 inches up towards Indianapolis, and some pockets of 6 to 8 and these purples around the area as well. But the further south you get, the quicker it transitions off because of that rain mixing in. The GFS, but again, a 4 to 6 with the GFS, and with the Canadian, I think a good 2 to 4 over at least some portions of the area, with 4 to 6 possibly over portions of the area as well. Again, this is only one model's idea here, but all things are starting to line up the way I look at the data right now to say there could be the potential for some accumulating snow with this. It's certainly the best chance that we've had since November, folks. Now, what are the chances once the weather balloons here get launched out tomorrow? What are the chances that the data radically changes in the track? Well, here's the thing. If we go back out here again, remind ourselves that it's already sampled at least partially. We'll be fully sampling the storm by tomorrow afternoon, it looks like, hopefully. So we've already got a part of the storm sampled. So the models did adjust today, and I showed you that they have some reasonably good model agreement right now. Not perfect, but fairly good. So what I think you're going to see is by tomorrow, hopefully we'll have some better model agreement, and we'll start to zero in on that. If anything, I'm not thinking the track of the low is going to be so much as what's affected. I think it's going to be more of the temperature profile. Right now the models are still struggling. Is this going to be in the low 30s, or are we going to be near 40 for the duration on Sunday? And each model has a little bit of a different idea on this, and it's a matter, and that could make a difference between whether we end up with rain or whether we end up with an all snow kind of a setup. So I think what you're going to see once the better sampling gets on board is that you're going to see these models start to adjust the temperatures up a little bit more, and hopefully we'll get an idea, if anything, where that rain and snow line is going to set up with a little bit greater accuracy. Hopefully by tomorrow night I'll be able to start issuing some first thoughts on what the snow accumulation could potentially be for us. Again, if I had to take a wild stab in the dark right now, 4 to 6 inches across the area is looking like a reasonable possibility. Unless you get closer to the Ohio River, where maybe a 2 to 4 might be of a more reasonable possibility due to the chances of some rain eating away at those totals first. It does look to me like we're all going to get some snow at this point. It's a matter of how much right now. The trend has been colder, and to take that low to our south, the further south that low goes, the more into that cold zone we'll end up getting. If that low decides to become a little bit stronger, though, that warm air advection, that overrunning moisture could come into play a little bit more there, and that could blowtorch us into sort of a rain event. So that's not off the table yet, but the chances of it are lessening. Again, by tomorrow, hopefully we'll have some more, at least a little bit better of an idea for us. One can most certainly hope here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what you got here for your forecast. Go to southernindianaweather.com. You can also get this on our mobile app as well. Search for southernindianaweather.com for Google Play and Apple during your app stores, folks. Let's go ahead and get to Sunday. It's going to be a chilly day tomorrow, and not too bad on Saturday. By Saturday night, though, maybe a chance of rain or snow in the evening. I do think it transitions to all snow overnight, at least for most of us. I think snow accumulation is likely, and again, snow accumulation is very likely on Sunday. It's a matter of how much at this point, and it's really a matter of where that accumulation takes place. But across our area, so if you're in maybe Evansville, Tell City, New Albany, areas that are closer towards the Ohio River, you've got the best chance of seeing some rain mix in there. If you're focused maybe towards Paoli, Bedford, Mitchell, Bloomington, Vincennes, and northward, you're lessening of a chance of getting that rain mix in. If you're in between, you're kind of in the zone, so where it's anybody's guess. Right now, Again, I've given you my thoughts on this. It could be a little bit of rain mix in, or it could be all snow. Hopefully we'll fine tune those details tomorrow, but the chance of it becoming a rain spoiler is lessening with each model run, and that's a good thing for those of us who are wanting a good winter storm. If we get a good snowpack, it's going to be cold next week, folks. Models are hinting behind this system that we go down into the low to mid 20s for our high on Monday. But I would caution us, if we get a decent snowpack on this system, that we're going to need to downgrade these totals for Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Another system will move in on Wednesday right now. If we can get a decent snowpack, this may end up being all snow rather than a rain or snow mix right now from the way things are looking. That's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, but it's going to be entirely dependent on this first system coming through on Sunday as to what we can expect. So that's where we stand right now, folks. Again, these systems will be better sampled tomorrow. We'll have more of a better idea for you, folks. So keep it tuned right here. Make sure you go to Southern Indiana Weather on Facebook. I'll keep you updated throughout the duration of the weekend on our storm chances. Again, by tomorrow night, folks, I expect to have at least my first idea of totals. I'll have a video out with that, along with plenty of activity on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Be sure to check that out and keep following us. All right, that is it for this update, folks. Long, I know, but lots to explain tonight for those of you that want the details. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow.